This bill that we are going to be briefed by the Honourable Minister is an executive bill. It's a bill that contains about 4 legislations under the water sector. This bill was passed by the House, previous the 8th Assembly, and then it was brought back through the normal process of the rules of the House. Those that are conversant with the rules of the House, it went through the normal process of the House. But it has some technical fault. But I believe it was the act of God. Probably God wants to make it clear that there is nothing hidden in this bill as is being speculated. The bill came on order 12 Rule 18, which it should have been gazetted before it has gone to the Committee of the Whole. It could have come on order 12 Rule 16, which will give the House easy passage to just distribute clean copy. A member raised a motion on privilege, and then the privilege was accepted, and his privilege is what brought us here. And that privilege also gave us another opportunity, or gave members another privilege. For those that were not here, for those that don't know the bill, they can see all the contents of the bill, they can hear the authors of this bill, they can hear the technical persons in this bill, and then they can hear the professionals. Then we will be able to have a clear understanding about the bill as a committee for the benefit of the old members and the new members that are not conversant with the bill. That is where we are now. Not that the bill is withdrawn from the House or withdrawn from the calendar of the House. No, it went through just technical hiccups, which by regazetting it, we have complied by the rules of the House. Now it will go through back to the House through the normal process. But before that, I requested the Minister to come to brief the committee. Then at the same time, we'll go through some of the key stakeholders of the House and the Senate. Then we will also brief them, because it's all about education, so that we can root out most of the skepticism and most of the worries that some people are expressing genuinely or for whatever reason. So, Honourable Minister, the floor now is before you, is for you to take it up, and then members will be listening. In the process, members are at liberty to interject the Minister and ask some questions or some explanations, so that we will be on the same page. Honourable Minister, you can authorize any of your officers to take any of the issues that you feel that they are in the capacity to do that, so that we will have a complete buy-in on this legislation.
As I've been saying, there's a serious misunderstanding about this bill, and but I've always said that at the end of the day, bills are not made on the pages of newspaper. Bills are made in the National Assembly, and we are going to concentrate our efforts on dialoguing with the members of the national members and the members of the House of Representatives and distinguished senators to try to get them to understand or to appreciate what this bill is all about, rather than continue to engage in the public space. Distinguished chairman, members, I have an address. I will go through it. Along the way, if there is need for expatiation, I will, because not everything on paper is, we can't put everything really in words, but I'll be able to digress a little bit to think about it. First of all, a little background about this bill. Recognizing the importance of water resource management for the economic development of Nigeria and the well-being of its citizens, this government took a number of initiatives related to water resources policy review and formulation that ultimately led to current discussions on the reform of the water resources law, or laws as it were. The National Water Resources Bill has evolved from the River Basin Development Authority Decree, originally passed in 1976, down to the present draft bill that is before the House. Some of the processes include the following. 1. River Basin Development Authority Decree, originally passed in 1976, reviewed in 1986, and now Act number 396, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. This is harmonized as Part 6 of the draft National Water Resources Bill, eliminating overlaps between the Water Resources Act and the River Basin Development Act in areas such as master planning and regulation. Of course, by Water Resources Act, I mean the Water Resources Act 2004. The Water Resources Decree 101 of 1993, which now became the Water Resources Act of 2004, was promulgated shortly after the publication of the Dublin Principles, to which Nigeria signed up, but prior to the global trend towards adopting integrated water resources management as a core concept for water resources management. That is GWP, the reference is Global Water Practice 1999 and 2000. Significant developments of these concepts have taken place around the world since then, both in terms of national policy formulation and in developing strategies for implementation. This includes legal and regulatory reforms that form the basis for integrated water resources management provisions, including the regulatory framework. The integrated water resources management objective informs most of the provisions in this bill. The third one is the National Water Resources Master Plan, and the fourth is the Water Resources Management Reform Program of 1997, which developed 7 thematic areas. The fifth is the Water Resources Management Principles, developed pursuant to consultation with over 100 specialists during the study on catchment management plan for the integrated natural resources management of the Komadugu-Yobe River Basin, prepared for the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, the Conservation Union, and International Conservation Union, the World, and the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. The sixth is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, which confers on the National Assembly with power to make legislation for water sources affecting more than one state. The seventh is the National Water Supply and Sanitation Policy of 2000, which was adopted. And the eighth one is the Water Resources Management Strategy Study of May 2001, the specialist report thereof. Legal team on this study, after consultation with over 100 stakeholders from the academia, the water sector, and other experts in 2001, recommended a number of principles which were considered important for sustainability and therefore adopted the 2004 Draft National Water Policy, which forms the basis for the 2016 National Water Resources Policy. Some of the provisions were included, sometimes ad verbatim, in Part 1 of the National Water Resources Bill before the House. They all include the following. Number 1, fundamental principles in respect of the legal status of water as a common right of all Nigerians. Subsection 1A states, I quote, all water, wherever it occurs in the natural cycle, that's the hydrological cycle, is a resource common to everyone, the use of which is subject to relevant customary and statutory control. All water shall have a consistent status in law, irrespective of its volume, capability of common use, the purpose of use, its source, its nature as running or stationary, that's with an A, its visibility, or whether it occurs in a mainstream, tributary, distributary, headwater, or subterranean. And this is abridged in the draft bill. 1B says there shall be no ownership of water, but only a right to use water. This is verbatim in the draft bill. The other issue is the Draft National Water Resources Policy 2004, which was adopted in 2016 after updating, and this was based on the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment held in Stockholm in 1972, plus the Ramsar Convention of 1975, the International Drinking Water Supply and Sanitation Decade Launch Mar del Plata 1977, Convention on the Protection and Use of Transboundary Water Courses and International Lakes of Helsinki 1992, the World Conference on Water and the Environment, Dublin 1992, the United Nations Conference on the Environment and Development, UNCED Earth Summit Agenda 21, that's Rio de Janeiro in 1992, the International Convention to Combat Desertification, INCD, adopted in 1994, Development Assistance Committee meeting on water resource management, our Organization for European, whatever, OECD, I can't remember, so DAC 1994, the Drinking Water Environmental Sanitation Conference on the implementation of Agenda 21, Ludwig Meeting of Ministers 1994, the first Water Forum of the World Water Council held in Marrakesh 1997, and the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Non-Navigational Uses of International Water Courses of 1998, and this is a UN convention. Distinguished members, prior to the year 2006, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources embarked on a series of programs to reform the national water resources sector. This included the development of a number of thematic studies covering hydrology, irrigation, and basin management and development proposals. In December 2006, an interministerial committee for the reform of the water resources sector was formed with the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources as the chairman. By 2006, a draft National Water Resources Bill was produced by legal experts with the support of the European Union under the Water Supply and Sanitation Sector Reform Program, WSSIP, and submitted to the Interministerial Committee. The subcommittee of the Interministerial Committee comprises sector experts as well as 9 heads of sector agencies and directors of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources was mandated to review the draft bill vis-à-vis the Extant Water Resources Act 1993. The subcommittee, with technical assistance by the EU as mentioned earlier, were able to come up with the second draft, which was submitted for stakeholder consultation at 6 regional fora in 2007 as follows. South-South Zonal Workshop held in Calabar, 13 November 2007. North-Central Zonal Workshop, Makodi, 20th to 21st November 2007. Northwest Zonal Workshop held in Sokoto, 27th to 20th November 2007. Northeast Zonal Workshop, Maiduguri, 4th and 5th December 2007. Southwest Zonal Workshop held in Abeokuta, 11th to 12th December 2007. And the Southeast Zonal Workshop held in Owerri from 17th to 18th December 2007. A third draft was produced in 2008, which reflected comments from zonal consultations and was presented to the Interministerial Committee in March 2009. In 2011, a national stakeholder conference was held comprising representatives of all the 36 states, federal ministries, departments and agencies, as well as other public and private sector interests and international bodies. A fourth draft was produced in 2013, and this draft was to reflect developments in the sector, in particular the passing of the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Act that was done in 2010. Upon the advent of the current administration, the Honorable Minister convened an international workshop for the Federal Ministry, internal workshop, well, a retreat more or less, for the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, together with invited sector experts to assess the state of water resources management in the country, and in particular the role of the different agencies and departments in the ministry. This retreat agreed on a number of actions, which included the need to urgently review and finalize sector governance instruments, that is policy, law and master plan, without which a proper integrated water resources management of the sector would be impossible. Further interaction with local and international stakeholders revealed that the absence of a clear policy and legal framework has been an impediment to investment in the sector. The fifth draft of the National Water Resources Bill now presented was produced as an updated version of all former drafts with emphasis on current issues impacting national and international water resources management. The African Water Vision 2025 outlined the challenges to the sustainable management of water resources on the continent. It named inappropriate governance and institutional arrangements as one core human threat to sustainable water management. The vision called for fundamental changes in policies, strategies, legal and institutional arrangements, the adoption of participatory approaches, as well as for openness, transparency and accountability in decision-making processes as a key success factor. It is in the spirit of this vision and in furtherance of entrenching the enabling framework for integrated water resources management that the National Water Resources Bill is structured as a compendium of laws to actualize integrated water resources management strategies in the new National Water Resources Policy. The Integrated Water Resources Management Development Objectives, in accordance with the United Nations Water Decade 2005 to 2015 initiative, is to recognize water as a key driver of economic and social development, while it also has a basic function in maintaining the integrity of the natural environment. However, water is only one of a number of vital natural resources, and it is imperative that water issues are not considered in isolation.